meeting together for the Board of Water Wastewater Commissioners at the Harwich Water Department at 196 Chatham Road, Harwich, Mass. on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024 at 3:43. We have no executive session, minutes ready, and no public comments. Announcements.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Thompson.
I move we approve the minutes of March 8th, March 14th, and April the 4th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, Noreen? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, abatements for the FY 24 third quarter internal adjustments. A motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I
Thompson.
move we approve $4,891.41 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
FY 24 third quarter water department usage.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the $3,527.11 as presented.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Water wastewater superintendent job description and posting.
There, good. Just skip it. We got a good superintendent.
All right, garden club
Now
insert.
up to leave.
Oh, God, this is heartbreaking.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Now, stick around.
Working on it, I'm working on it.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
so
Yeah, go ahead.
we had, was slightly delayed due to the foam incident, but the job, I think was posted last week?
Yep.
With a anticipated receipt date of May 10th. So we did post it amongst all of the typical posting locations. I did also send a redlined copy of the minor edits that were made to the job description to Town Hall for the record. And we have not had any comments from them back on that, so I think we're in good shape.
All right,
Yeah.
Maureen.
So I don't think today is the day, going by reading the mood of the board, but at some point, I mean, how do we proceed? Should we have an agenda item on a future meeting that talks about, you know, who checks credentials, when we meet, things like that, lays out interview dates and stuff like that, so, all right, so.
We got plenty of time. He's not going anywhere yet.
Thanks, Alan. Okay.
I would assume that whatever applications we do get back, we'll all get a copy of that.
Okay.
Now, is one person going to be verifying all of those, or is it up to each board member to verify that? How do you?
I just
Oh, no,
wanted,
there's some,
Is-
not everybody.
Yeah, let me ask you, has this changed any since we hired Dan?
not much, no, a couple of
We
words.
changed a couple of words like water,
Tiny,
wastewater,
tiny.
things
Is
like
there
that.
anything that you've done over the past 10 years, 9 years, 9.5 years, it's not on you?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, well, plenty, but that's the whole point, I
No, we're not
guess.
talking about that. That's the stuff you did.
No, I think it's in good, I think it is as it
Pretty well.
should be, yeah. Yeah.
So, at this point, let's
And
advertise.
it's tight, it's not like.
It's been advertised.
It is advertised.
It went out last week.
Okay.
Yeah,
The question Noreen's asking is, once we get applications in, who's verifying the candidates? Who's doing the background checks? Who's calling and checking references and all that stuff?
Let's wait and see
So-
what we get.
Just throwing out there, just through my hiring, process. I would say, at this point, wait until May 10th, until you get everything in. I would say, at that point, all of you would be getting copies of all the resumes and reviewing them. I think from there, if you want to interview everybody or,
depending.
figure out the list of who you want to interview, I would say you would want to do references after the interview.
Okay,
That way, because some people aren't going to want to furnish references right away if they haven't told their water commission that they're applying for another job. So just to at least have that, confidence, keep it confidential rather. through the process.
And I think before we start calling and doing all this background checking, have the person come in and have it meet, and be like, yeah, okay, this person's worth looking into, and like, not gonna happen. I
Right.
mean, so I think that's probably gonna help.
Well, other than the credentials, I mean, we have to make sure if they say they worked 10 years, that they at least worked a few years, or something, that it's
Yeah.
not total.
Yeah.
But also, hopefully we'll have Dan as a consultant, so he certainly has the background to do all the credentials, check the licenses, things we wouldn't be as familiar with as Dan would be too, to get going that
If
way.
Dan is willing to do that.
And those should be on the
Yeah.
state
Yeah.
website anyway. Anybody, from a hairdresser to a doctor's, all their certifications are
Oh, okay.
online.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I think as far as the official formal background check, they'll submit with their application a query form and a background check form that once the board has picked a candidate they want to offer the job to, Town Hall usually runs those background checks
Okay.
and whatnot, on at least the criminal query check and the criminal background.
That's cool.
All right,
Okay.
moving on. Garden Club, insert.
So Garden Club insert is still being worked out. I think the price quote that they got back for the design that is in the packet was higher than they had anticipated, so Wellesley is working with Garden Club and the bill print vendor to see if they do just black and white, if maybe it's within their budget. So we're trying
All
to
right.
get to the finish line with them, but
How much more time do they have? Like, when do our bills go out? Or when were they trying to hopefully get these in for?
For the July billing period.
How-
So we would need a couple weeks, so I would comfortably like to get it in first week in June. So, just to give the transfer a couple weeks to get it in. But that would also be dependent on if they print it or if the Garden Club decides to have it printed elsewhere, and then we send it up. So we're getting price quotes for that as well. So a few options.
Okay, sounds like Wellesley's on.
I was just gonna suggest, just look into maybe printed on colored paper as if you need something cheaper. Instead of just, if it comes down to black and white, if you print it on green paper. It won't be as nice as this, but
It would depend on who supplies it, if they do it, or if the Garden Club does it independently and sends them out, so that's what we're, there's a few variables in play, but we're trying out.
All right, capital plan.
all right, so in the packet is a draft capital plan. The only change was a change to the wastewater department vehicle. Again, for the board's consideration, now that we have John, an assistant wastewater superintendent, in, he went through, based on our system, what we have and what he thought would be appropriate for the town to have as a vehicle to respond to sewer emergencies or work, day-to-day work. So he did work with Highway to get a quote, which is in the capital plan listed as $130,000. That includes the truck crane to hoist in and out of the wet well, the submersible pumps and things like that. So it's significantly bigger than the $150 that we had as a placeholder, but doesn't need to be voted now, but this would be for next year's town meeting.
Noreen.
So, come next fall, when whoever sends up the capital request, they will have to change the amount on the capital request that went up from 65 to 130.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, the vehicle that Steve and John spec'd out with the crane to do all that stuff, John's gonna be doing that by himself? I spoke to John, and he said he can. My problem is, I don't have a problem with the vehicle. My problem is him doing those things and not him turning into you and running everything in the field. I don't mean that as a bad thing. I apologize.
No, it's all good. I get what you're
I didn't
saying.
mean that as a bad thing, but I don't want hit the expectation that he's going to be out there pulling and replacing pumps and running the department. I understand
Right.
he's one person right now, but when things start getting, so,
So, yeah, can I,
yes.
so, the way in which our agreement is set up with Weston and Sampson, right, we have them for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's not specific to they're only doing sewer service inspections or something to that effect. So if, say, the pump at the 137 pump station broke and went down, John, as well as Paul from Weston and Sampson, our, day-to-day operator, would be, removing that
Okay,
pump
all right.
together. So he has access to subcontracted staff to perform that sort of
Okay.
work. There may be things that are beyond Weston and Sampson's scope that may need to be subcontracted through, a small bid. But I think for the majority of the day-to-day, pulling pumps, things like that would be John and
Okay.
Weston and Sampson.
But he can't do that by himself.
Yeah, and he has all the licenses and.
Right, I've spoken to him, that's nothing, and I hope he does turn into you.
Yeah.
That way, work-wise,
Yeah.
and I didn't mean it like that, but I don't want him his focus being taken off of other things and not being able to do everything.
Right.
All right. So that's the only thing on the budget?
Capital plan, yeah, that was just, we had got that quote in and didn't want to leave it to John to come and defend the
Explain
vehicle.
it?
Yeah,
I'm sure Steve would have come with him.
right.
How about a Jetta?
So Chatham, and this all gets into the relationship with Chatham, what we share, what we buy. They allow us to use their jetter in their back truck. And if they needed a pump pulled and it was something that they didn't have a truck for, mutual response, we could send.
Okay.
Yeah, so what do we contract with Chatham for? I know they go and they do the maintenance, or they do,
So they
the
do
checks.
the day-to-day O&M,
Right.
which is going in, checking the pump stations. They're doing the sewer service inspections. Presently, I think that's something that John may be looking to take on himself. And this is kind of what I envisioned when he came on, was us trying to delegate and divide up duties, amongst what's John going to be taking, what's better for, a town representative to be focused on versus a subcontractor of the town. We thought sewer services, for example, was a good thing that we would have a town employee looking at, because they're looking at it from the interest of the town, which I think is,
So the further we go on or grow with wastewater, and the more that John and future wastewater employees can take on, will that lessen the amount that we have to contract or be in contract with Chatham?
yes. And I think that there's a clean line as to when that transition will happen. I guess there's a clearer line now for me than there has been before when we've talked about this. I've kind of always discussed it as we continue to grow, we'll get to a point where it's going to be more cost effective for us to manage this in-house than it is to subcontract through Weston and Sampson. I think that time is going to be once we do something outside of the Pleasant Bay watershed, because now we're going to be in a situation where we have a contract through our intermunicipal agreement with Chatham and their contract with their contract operator that we're really a third party to. They're not going to open that contract operations contract up to, I don't expect, the rest of Harwich that doesn't go to the Chatham wastewater treatment plant. So I don't believe it would make sense for us to have two contract operations, one through our IMA with Chatham and then one independent with Harwich for the stuff that goes to Dennis. So I think, 5 to 10 years after they do the dry pipe West Harwich, Dennis builds a plant, and we're starting to bring other West Harwich online, we would be doing a town-wide, that would probably be the time that we start to say, okay, we're gonna hire a second wastewater operator to work beneath John and start to build out that.
All right. Anything else for Dan? All right, CWNP reassignment of duties. Noreen, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I didn't put it there.
I put it there, I think I might have put it
You
there.
did?
But Noreen did send an email.
Oh, is that what you were
Yeah.
referring to?
That's what I
Okay.
was referring to.
Yeah.
but maybe
Yeah.
you thought-
No, I thought you were going a much grander scale
No, no.
than that. I would have made copies of
why
the
our meetings
letter
take so
if I had known that. Okay, those duties, so really the phone calls we're
Yeah.
talking about. So I sent a letter off to Julie Monday morning, telling her that, as of April 29th, we simply won't have the staff to continue doing all the things that Dan did. And that we would like them to identify as quickly as possible the target contact for resident questions as well as professional questions. And at that point, we'll alter our phone system so that the residents' calls can be sent up there. And Julie responded and said that she very much wants to go ahead and work with us on that, and she will try to get that name and information as quickly as possible. My concern is that, all right, let's say that we have a name, you know, call it Joe Blow. And we do that, and, you know, let's assume that's some town hall employee who's, you know, been doing other things, and this is not their, you know, first priority. My concern for the staff is that, you know, when residents call about those types of issues, about like, you know, do I have to move my rose bush and stuff, they're usually, you know, very often anxious. And if they call here, because we have that word wastewater in our name, so when people look it up, that's their first inclination. And whether it goes straight to a prompt uptown or whether it's answered by staff, then they leave their message, 2 days go by, they get no call back, and of course they're gonna call back here and be even more upset by then. So I don't have a solution to that or anything yet. I don't know if there is a solution, but other than to say I'm very aware of it, because, you know, the worst thing you can do is make them wait 3 days, you know.
Where are we with the phones? Has there been any change, are we anywhere with changing our phone
I don't
system?
know that I don't think there's been any action on
No,
that.
there's been no action taken. I haven't written a memo. You haven't written a memo. Nobody's written a memo, but I will.
Alright. Judith?
Can I just ask a couple questions? So, so the extra work that was finally taken care of, so that will no longer be down here, correct? Therefore you did that. Is that something that the staff here would even want to take on if it were compensated correctly?
No.
I don't think I don't
I
think you're
mean,
capable, but it's outside of your job description.
Right.
I would say that's things
No.
that,
No, I agree, it's outside of the job description. If, I don't know, I'm just nervous, like you are nervous,
Right.
to leave it up to town hall,
We can't,
and we can't hire somebody half-time to,
I wouldn't want to.
under wastewater.
I wouldn't want to under
but
wastewater.
the CWMP is not our thing.
Not ours. anymore.
CWMP is a select board and the town hall authority.
We
I
can't,
understand that,
Name.
I
Okay.
understand that, I completely understand that.
can I jump in? I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, it's just not our territory anymore. To me, that would be like saying to the community center, well, listen, I'm sorry, could you take some calls about the library for a couple of months? I mean, it's absolutely not our territory. And anything we tell them would be subject to being incorrect or needing a follow-up or anything else. I mean, you're gonna be intermingling with projects that are the whole time that have absolutely nothing to do with us.
I agree.
Yeah. And I'm gonna give you.
Nice if the paper would write an article about it.
I'm gonna give you a document later that will help firm that up, but, that'll be later on. Well, maybe I should give them out now, how's that for, since you're into that? So, while I was writing that letter, me and a couple old wastewater buddies, came up with this quote, just to have nice and ready and handy, and I'll leave one out there for staff, because you probably should put that over your computers. I just can't push it any further, but I'll read it. So, this paragraph is from the executive summary of the final CWMP that was voted, approved, submitted, and all those things back in 2016. And this is the section on governance, section 4.3. So what it says, it's not that long, is the Board of Selectmen have been reviewing and discussing several models to help oversee the implementation of the recommended wastewater program. Currently, they are the Wastewater Management Authority, the WMA, for the town, and will submit the water quality plan to the Cape Cod Commission in June 16th. The next sentence is the definitive one for me. While no formal governance structure has been adopted by the town to date, the plan is for the Board of Selectmen to oversee the planning, design, and construction of each program phase, and then once a specific phase is placed into operation, the day-to-day oversight will be turned over to the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners. The town continues to work out the details to formalize this structure. Well, obviously, we didn't continue to work out the details. I mean, that's black and white. It's not our job. Dan was wonderful to do it and to get the town to this stage, but it's just not our territory.
I don't disagree at all,
Yeah.
Noreen, I don't.
All right.
I don't, and I don't want anybody doing any extra work. I just think that just because it says it here, it's not gonna be a huge cluster for new people
They're gonna have to
coming
hire a
on.
clerk of the works or something.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, the reality is that we're in the situation that we're in because they never hired someone to manage the wastewater program, and by giving them an opportunity to not do so again is only going to perpetuate the problem. You know, I mean,
Yeah. I know. It's like, I just feel like this can
Yeah.
is being kicked,
yeah.
and
One of my big concerns from the electric utility is, you know, we don't want to stay current on this topic anymore, you know what I mean? And so if anybody, people call, they're anxious, they want information, they get Wellesley, and, you know, she says she'll look into something, I mean, it's just not our field, and eventually a resident is going to say, well, those people told me this, and the town, you know, because they're anxious, they hear what they want to hear, and it will just cause more confusion. I mean, I will stay mute on anything to do with the rest of the town. I don't even know why Alan and I were there today, we were laughing at that.
We're keeping Dan company.
That's right, but I mean, but it has nothing to do with our job on the board.
A pick-a-me.
That's right,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, anything else with the reassignment of duties?
But I think this is a great page to keep, so.
All right. New business, annual statistical report.
So I don't plan on going page by page with this.
Aw, it's 88 pages.
There is, if you are struggling, falling asleep at all this weekend, feel free to read through it. But it's just the summary of all of our pumping, billing, usage, kind of the whole kit and caboodle for the department for the year. So this is all done. The consumer confidence report is done. I think from an annual reporting perspective, we're all done this year. So this was the last one.
any surprises?
No, I mean, the big things that I look at when we go through, when I do this, is to make sure that our unaccounted for water is low. The state requires you to be at or below 10%, or they can start to impose fines, have you do water audits and things like that. I think with just our meter calibration and flushing alone, we were like 7%, and that didn't include any breaks or anything like that, so we're well below.
I found some pages with some interesting facts anyway. But I didn't go through quite all of the ADA, but.
Yeah.
I took 10 more years of it doing reading.
So I'm sure you all got this that Dan sent from DEP, and basically it says, congratulations, your system is an award recipient in the 2024 Public Water Systems Award Program. Please see the award letter, and it just says that we've gone above and beyond for a small,
Medium to large.
your system has achieved one of the top scores from the medium to large community system category for 2024 Public Water System Awards Program. Mass DEP realizes that it's no easy task to keep up the ever-evolving federal and state drinking water regulations. Your compliance efforts have not gone unnoticed as your efforts to go above and beyond compliance. So again, that's to all of you, and
Thank you.
was that 9 years in a row?
9 years in a row.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what I've been keeping track. I want to say that they had it many
Yeah.
years in a row before that.
Yeah.
So I don't want that to go unrecognized.
All right, something about a foam incident.
So the foam incident, I would argue, is resolved to the greatest extent possible. I know the last thing we're doing is PFAS.
We're going to be doing some PFAS testing in the area, and pretty much the whole area, just for peace of mind and just to make sure that everybody feels good.
It's PFAS-free foam, but it's firefighting foam. May as well just for peace of mind.
All right.
I am still working on the after-incident report, but I intend to get that done this week.
So I spoke to Chief LeBlanc afterwards. He wrote a very thoughtful letter, taking full responsibility, even though this, what happened was just one of the perfect storm situations that no one could have foreseen happening. And I did talk to him about, obviously, firefighters and everyone in the vicinities, their lives are top priority. But going forward, what did we learn from it, and do you have any idea what they're looking to do differently going forward?
Yes. And I will circulate, he did send email over a new foam operation policy. And I believe it may be somewhat inconvenient for them, but the new policy is you run the foam truck out of the tank on the foam truck, not when it's connected to a hydrant. So they would have to, reopen the valve, fill the foam hopper, shut the valve, then they can operate. So the conditions in which allowed the foam incident to happen would no longer be present.
Because I have gotten some questions about a backflow device or a backflow regulator on the
Yeah.
fire engine, and I tried to explain why that was, or doesn't, they don't have that. Can you just touch on that?
Yeah, and I guess this is my, and I will preface this with, if anybody understands this to be incorrect, please let me know. But I believe the way in which the fire truck and the fire operations work is that we have our static water system pressure of, say, 65 psi. The pumper truck is then elevating that up to 120 to 150 psi. And the foam truck is then, from what I understand, elevating that again to up to 300 psi before the foam discharges from the nozzle. My understanding of the fluid dynamics is that when you are drawing from the static water pressure of 65 in the water system to raise it up to 120 in the fire truck, is that if you put a backflow device in between those two situations, as the water passes through the backflow device, creates an area of low pressure, and that can create air bubbles to populate within the water column, which will then cavitate the pump in the pumper truck and destroy the pumper truck. Now, I haven't run this benchtop simulation, but in trying to think as to why in 2024 we don't have backflow devices on fire trucks, that could be a valid reason.
Okay. Doreen?
Part of the issue with the foam incident, was very minor compared to the water supply, but I know that a lot of residents were upset, so I'd just like to mention it to get it on the record. I mean, I don't know, it's not my wheelhouse, what happened with the complaints about the message system, but there were a lot of complaints, and some of those people were actually in the affected area, and they had complaints. And a lot of reasons were given about the different lists of different departments that protocol regroup. But I used my own street as an example. The woman up the end of the street, she got a message on her landline, but not a cell or a text. My other neighbor, who, I mean, these are people who are type A, you know, so if they say they signed up and didn't get it, you know, we believe them. So my other neighbor got no messages. I, on the other hand, got everything. I got everything blasting away. And that's in the space of a quarter of a mile. So something isn't right with the town message system. So I don't have a solution. I'm just putting that on the record because many people still remember or still think that all of the messaging is controlled by the water department as it was many, many, many years ago, and that's no longer the case, so. That's it.
You know, I have to say, in all my life of being here, it's the first time.
That,
That was the first time that there's any awareness of any backflow.
oh,
It was a unique situation.
yeah,
You have a newer pumper on the other side, pushing back, you know how that goes. And believe me, for that to manifest itself again, they're all educated now, so I don't see that ever being a problem.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Well, I guess just on the regroup, I know
Yeah.
Dave, post-incident, has gone back and has been digging in to regroup to try and understand the messaging
Yeah.
and how that, why it went down the way that it did.
yeah,
I don't know that there's a clear resolution yet. I know we've had our own internal issues with the database and it being changed, not by us.
Right.
But it's definitely something that needs to continue to be worked out.
yeah.
because so, like, was it 3 years ago, we used to
Yeah.
send out alerts, and it's all done by,
Now it's the town purchased a software program called Regroup. It's not,
oh, that's the actual name of it,
Yeah.
I see.
um,
And
so-
it's not regrouping, wow.
yeah, yeah.
That, yeah.
Waste of money.
Are they gonna put a task, I mean, that's a real security issue.
I agree. I don't know I don't know that there is presently an emergency management director officially designated by the town. I think that would be a great project for that person to,
Passed away, yeah.
Yeah, we used to have,
I'm blanking on his name.
Lee Culver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lee Culver, yes, of course.
Yeah.
he did civil defense and all those things.
And there's no one in that position, he wasn't volunteer,
He was on the police force.
he was on the police force.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a good point.
All
I
right.
think there's somebody.
And I don't think there is.
Yeah, not presently.
Anything else? All right, water, wastewater signing authority.
So I just wanted to put this in front of the board for your consideration. Just in my absence, there is going to be things that come up that require a signature. In the packet is a copy of the procurement table. I thought it was in there.
All that's in here is the procurement.
Yeah,
thing.
okay, that's
Okay.
perfect.
It's third from the end.
Towards the very end.
I missed on my back.
No, you're going the other way.
Yeah, I moved everything, that's why.
Here.
All mine?
Well, so, I guess, in short, I got it, it's back here.
I got an extra one. Okay.
So there's a number of different thresholds The most common one in which we purchase materials and services under is 30B. For contracts under $10,000, the procurement law is sound business practice, which generally includes, obtaining 3 quotes, but not required. Between 10 to 50,000, you need to develop a written purchase description and solicit quotes from no fewer than 3 people. Once we get into over 50,000, that's when we get into sealed bids, central register, combis, newspaper postings, things like that. I was bringing this to you with the thought that it would be beneficial to keep the department moving, to delegate John, Sandy, and Steve with some authority to execute contracts at a certain threshold. For example, we need to add the 4 generators on the wastewater system to our South Shore generator annual preventative maintenance, service contract list. That's going to be a couple $1,000s, for the year. Is that something in my absence that you want to come and wait for a board meeting to vote for? Or is that something that we would allow John as the assistant wastewater superintendent to execute to get it onto the service list?
Noreen,
All I did was breathe.
I knew it was coming.
I think we should add them on. I'm just trying to figure out, maybe you've envisioned the best flow. I mean, what types of things, what limits, do they get reported to us at our next meeting, but we don't have to be called or contacted? I mean, for the staff's benefit, we don't mind being called or contacted, but we don't want to be a pain either.
Right.
How about a dollar amount?
Right, and we're
We've done that in the past.
we're getting to the time at which we would do our annual procurements, which,
Right.
assuming I can continue to help out, I can obviously help push all that stuff through. I mean, I see it as there's 2 options. There's 10,000 or there's 50,000.
Right.
I'm trying to think at what stuff is coming up or could come up that would be over 10,000. You think
Would it, would
Be
it,
a well problem.
but that's gonna be a bid anyway, yeah.
Isn't that usually an article, the funding?
Funding we have, it's more,
It's
So-
who
execution.
signs off on,
Yeah.
what about the, backup generators? Or are those in good shape now?
well, we have, we have,
I mean, something like that, right?
that contract's already signed. Yeah, so, for example, when we do switch these 2 generators over that we have coming, which I was gonna note, the estimated delivery date is May 29th, so I could take that off the superintendent's list. But, so those are gonna be coming sometime in June, we hope. I was discussing with the electrician and Dana earlier, when we do that, given it's going to be our heavy pumping season, we should probably have a tow behind on standby.
right,
In the event that something happens during installation and we can't get it back on, we'll have a generator. That may be $5,000 to rent that generator for a month. I think in the interest of keeping business moving,
yeah.
that staff should be able to sign and get that moving.
Okay. So, I mean, the under 10,000 seems clear.
Yeah.
The staff is experienced and
Yeah.
professional, and they should go on and, do those things. I'm only wondering, just an idea for the 10 to 50. Would a hybrid system work, like to have the pertinent staff who deals with whatever product or service it is, prepare it, do it, sign it, but maybe have the chair or somebody come in and co-sign it? I'm thinking of giving, all working together and giving protection to people. I would never want somebody to say, oh, there wasn't a superintendent, so, I don't know about this, or vice versa. I don't know, it's just an
Right.
idea. I'm just hearing this.
Have you spoken to John Sandy and Steve, are they willing to sign?
I don't know if I've caught up directly with Steve. I have talked with Sandy and John. And, yeah, I talked to them about having this conversation, yeah.
All right, I mean, if they're not, I mean, like Noreen was saying, like, one of us can also sign too with them if they feel more comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think under 10 and under, I think is a starting point, and let's see if something comes up to warrant a change on the 10 to 50. I mean, the only things that I can think of that are gonna be over 10 are gonna be our annual procurements, which would come before you anyway,
Right.
because those exceeded my threshold
Yeah.
for signature, so. The only one, if we had to clean and redevelop a well, and it was
Yeah.
gonna cost 25,000, that would be one of those instances between 10 to 50 that we could get 3 quotes. If it was an emergency,
Right.
say something happens, pump comes down, and Dana needs to call the well guy to get him to come down here, I think, you know, in that instance,
Yep.
Dana should be allowed to
Right.
say, okay, it's over, it's an emergency,
Emergency.
Yeah.
call the well guy, you know.
They had a
I
couple
wouldn't
of them.
wanna hold that process up for a week or two,
No,
Oh, no.
you know.
no, I agree.
But I think under 10,
Yep,
over 10 an emergency,
yeah.
but
Do we have to formally vote on that for the record kind of thing, or does it?
We can take a vote.
I think it would
and
probably
Yeah.
be good that way if there's any, a
Question.
town hall that has any,
Right.
yeah,
that the board
questions,
direct-
anything
that
that
the
the
board
board
directed
is-
them to do that.
yeah.
So, a motion to approve the water and wastewater signing authority to Sandy, Steve, and John for the procurement of supplies and services.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Under 10, did you say under 10,000?
Well, 10 to 50, under 10,000, are we gonna do, well, how do you wanna do it? Do you wanna do all of it? Or do you wanna give them the authority to do the 10,000, then the 10 to 50,000?
For emergencies?
Yeah, I thought we just said under 10,000 and over 10,000 for emergencies.
Okay.
For the moment. I mean, this column comes to us anyway,
Yeah,
so we
right.
don't have to,
Right.
yeah.
That's fine.
All right. So that's the motion?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yep. No, that's okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right. I have, sorry, one follow-up question. So what if it's 40,000 and it's not an emergency?
Then it doesn't fall under that, then.
So
Then
who
there's,
does it?
then theoretically, there's enough time to
Yeah.
grab
If
the
it's
chair.
40,000 and
You're all
not,
talking at once, I
if
can't
it's
hear a thing.
40,000 and not an emergency, it would come to us.
Oh, okay.
That works.
Okay.
All right, superintendent transition.
Kind of a general catch-all topic, if there was any.
Yeah, I got some idea, but what's the board's? So the discussion is, Dan has agreed to stay on in some capacity to help with the transition as far as answering questions, town meeting, helping with his replacement, and I feel as though he should be compensated for his time because nobody works for free. And I guess my thought is how that compensation should happen. I feel, it's my opinion, that we could hire Dan, and Noreen has reached out to Boston to get legal's opinion on this, and we can hire Dan, and I think we should hire him as a consultant, because he's not gonna be here on a day-to-day basis, he's not gonna be working 40 hours or 10 hours. He'll be available, and correct me if I'm wrong, he'll be available by phone if there's an emergency question that comes up, and basically on call until we can come up with his replacement. Now, how long that's gonna take, when we won't get applications back till May. So I would like to see us hire him as a consultant, and whatever time frame or long, depending on, your other job,
Mhm.
how that goes, maybe you might have to come down to,
Yeah.
to help out. So that's, That's my thought process. You know what I mean?
I hadn't envisioned, having it tied in any way to when we get a new person. I had it envisioned as a consultant who stays on for a period longer than that to help the transition for as long as he is willing.
I guess that would be, I would like Dan to stay on for as long as he wants to stay on. But at that point, how he's compensated for that, or what number that comes up to be, how long Dan's willing and capable
Right.
of doing it. So I guess if you want to throw
Yeah.
something out, what do you
Can I
think
ask
you,
a question first?
okay?
I'm just concerned for you, do we need to be thinking at all about, health insurance and stuff like that?
No.
So you're good,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, so I'm good on, benefits wise, my
Your
new job.
transition.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have talked to my insurance agent, so I'm getting the liability insurance lined up, setting up an LLC and getting everything put together so that I can act independently as a consultant. I mean, in addition to what Gary mentioned, depending on when someone gets in here, there's still a lot of moving parts out there. We're waiting for a response from DEP on the Water Management Act permit. There may be rules and regulation changes with regard to the water use or water restrictions.
Yeah.
There's stuff depending on when you get someone, and depending on who you get. I would say that I also do a lot of things that towns would normally hire a consultant to do. So that may be a continuing need, depending on who comes in. But
Excuse me.
no,
please. I'm gonna
as
kick
far
you
as,
over. Sorry.
how I envisioned this working, obviously it would have to be somewhat fluid in the first, month, just in case I need to adapt, but I'm envisioning a 4-day work week at my new position, so that would make Fridays, nights and weekends, or if an emergency comes up during the day and you need me, my new employer has already said that they understand that you guys may need me in transition and they would make me available for that. So, I could see reasonably dedicating anywhere from 4 to 10 hours, depending on workload, and what Harwich's needs are.
But you brought up that was one thing I want to specifically talk about, were our wells, because those have to be written up and done properly, because if we miss that time frame, we lose all the permitting on all the wells.
The registration, I believe is already done. The registration statement that we have to file annually is done. Well, the new source up by well 10, and that was, I'll take another page out of the superintendent's report, but they are coming out May 6th to do the week-long prolonged pump test for the new source that we're investigating up in North Harwich. So our well will need to be off for a week during then, and then I believe it's 10 days following the test. But that project is going to have next steps associated with it that someone is going to have to.
Okay. So you ever seen 4 to 10 hours a day, 4 to 10 hours a week?
Probably a week.
Okay. And for, like, however long?
Yeah.
How long we're comfortable that?
I've been working 2 or 3 side jobs for the last 9 years, so
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
it's 40 to 60 hours.
So we'll be on the other side of it. We'll be
Yeah,
on the other side.
yeah,
of it.
I'm just
Okay.
inversing.
All right, Noreen.
Okay, so just a technical question first and then a general one. Is all the easement work completed on the Route 28 water main project?
We do not need to take, we originally thought we were gonna have to take an easement from the dentist next
Right.
to the Herring River. They were able to orient the horizontal directional drilling such that we were able to stay in the Route 28 road layout.
Okay, so that project going forward doesn't have any obstacles
No,
that need to wait in front?
well, not big ones.
No. Okay. So one thing I would ask about is it would be nice to have a certain set period, I mean, could you say, 4+ hours a week or whatever? You don't want us calling you during your job or back and forth, all day long. So, I mean, maybe partly we know that other than emergencies, maybe Friday is the day that you are literally on call, if
Yeah.
you know what I mean. That we know that from, if they're not emergency questions, that they've piled up, and we know that from 10 to 3, that's Dan's,
I mean, I would probably intend to, on a daily basis in the evenings, go through any email correspondence to
okay.
keep things
Yeah.
moving, and then if there's, if I have to sit down and write a report,
Yeah.
for like the Pleasant Bay Alliance, I would be trying to
right.
drill down on that on Fridays, that, that I can actually dedicate a block of time.
Which I'm not clear that the new superintendent will do the Pleasant Bay Alliance work,
Right.
quite honestly. It's kind of one of those in the middle, so
Yeah.
I don't really know at this point. But, so is this an appropriate time to talk money?
I
Gary?
I don't see why not. I mean, I wanted to get it done, and I want to get it approved. I mean, I'd rather keep it here, and we're all here. I
So,
mean,
we know that we have sufficient funds until June 30th between not paying Dan for the water side, and there was excess money in the wastewater side anyway, just because the professional services, Weston and Sampson business
Yeah.
never gets fully used. So, till June 30th, we have a pretty open sighting. From July 1st on, I'm trying to think of what kind of funds we have for this.
I mean, I'm not expecting any sort of windfall. I mean,
Right.
I'm just,
No, I know, but, yeah, I see what you're saying. All right, not that. Okay.
Honestly, I haven't done the
Right.
math out in my head, but,
Yeah.
knowing what the consultant rates are,
Right.
what they range from, I can't imagine more than a couple, it working out to being a couple grand a month, of
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just did some really quick work, very rough work on your salary. And, it looks like currently, and I forget if I used 35 hours or 40, I think I used 35, because I think that's what's on the books for people, but, so that works out to about $80 an hour, so, I mean, we're not going there, obviously. And we have sufficient funding to July 1st. So, I mean, this isn't the beginning and end of this discussion, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing some things out on the table. But it seems to me that we should be talking around a range of 200 per hour as a talking point. Maybe that goes down a little bit. It probably doesn't go up much.
what I was thinking was, for like normal stuff, 150 an hour, I think
Right.
is a fair,
Mhm.
on the cheaper side of consulting rates.
It is.
Which
Mhm.
Very
I'm
much
okay
so.
with, that's still a lot for me,
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Yeah.
Just bear in mind, you're still gonna, I believe you're still gonna have to do insurance and a bonding.
I
Your
already
LLC.
got the insurance
that's what he said.
figured out, yeah.
Because that could be 5
It's-
to 10 grand a year.
It's a
For
lot
him,
less.
it was
Yeah.
cheaper.
With the bonding too?
No bonding that I'm aware of. We've never asked that of any vendor with,
No.
Okay, okay.
yeah,
So,
Town hall can be litigious, that's all,
yeah.
so the,
right?
so the cost of the insurance and all that should be calculated into whatever your salary is going to be, so that should be coming out of your pocket.
Yeah.
When we hire consultants in the past, how have we done it? Have we done it, they just give us an amount that they want for the month or whatever it is? I mean,
No, I mean, it's,
They
and
should they
that's,
give us a bill every
yeah,
month?
so generally, so there's like an on-call services, like, this is what we do a lot of the work under, is like an on-call engineering services agreement that has, the hourly rates and services rendered, and it's just billed, at at the hourly rate for the hours you put in.
Okay.
You know, if there's a desire for the town, for me to, like, actively be on call 24 hours a day, you know, similar, if any of our water distribution or treatment staff wanted to call me at 2 in the morning, you know, they, for example, get, you know, a fixed amount per week to be on call.
I see.
Whether or not that's
Right.
appropriate or not, but
What's your preference? Would you like that kind of a structure as opposed to a straight hourly basis? Would you like a certain amount that was, you know, let's just throw out a number, let's say $500 a week as a base? And then,
yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say probably,
hmm?
yeah, less than that, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just using round numbers.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's better to do hourly so that it doesn't get overly taxed, so you don't get overly taxed.
Yeah.
And generally, on the other side of the bridge, a rate for this kind of thing is triple whatever your hourly works out to when you're on salary, because it's not a set amount of
Yeah.
hours and that sort of thing. So personally, I would do like a flat rate of 175 for certain types of jobs, so that, like, you don't need to come here physically, right? And then like 2.25, 250 for things that are more emergency oriented and are gonna go into that, the other part of your time, other than that Friday.
Do we need to sign a contract with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, can we have that? Can you write up a
I
contract?
gotta that was my
I was
intent,
just gonna say.
was to, I
Oh, I'm
am,
sorry, I got it before you. Finally.
I'm almost to the finish line with all the paperwork. I talked to my tax guy and the
Alright.
insurance agent, so
Okay.
my intent was to get the Ts crossed and the Is dotted on that. Draft up, you know,
It's not a contract, because we can't sign contracts, but
you
Why
can sign.
can't we sign contracts?
It's a 1099
Yeah,
contract.
it's you can sign that contract.
we can sign a contract.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Just
not
like we do with
employee.
anybody else, like we did with SCADA.
It's not an
like we
employee,
Yeah.
because I'm not an employee, I'm not
No, I
working as an
got you.
employee.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, you know, sit down.
Can you tell me what
Thank you, Tracy,
they're
for not jumping
charging
on my
out?
phone.
What
Never asked
they're
me.
charging out per hour?
Yeah, I can,
the power,
yeah,
Gary.
it's
You
got
anywhere
the
from
power.
And it's late in the day for
150.
Gary, so let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Gotta get punches in there, yeah.
So-
Okay,
Noreen,
all right. So, we've looked at a lot of people, Dan, we've decided we're interested in you. So could we ask you to write us up a proposal and then we'll take it under consideration?
Yeah.
You've heard our general
Yeah.
thoughts, so, thank you.
Yeah, I will, that's my intent, and I can try and
Yeah.
outline, you know, various types of
Right.
things, like the permits
Yeah.
and the wells and, you know,
Mhm.
yeah.
And because some of this 1099 stuff will be coming out of wastewater too.
well, are you doing wastewater? You just
Yeah.
doing what? I'm asking Dan,
Excuse me?
okay, I'm asking Dan, are you doing wastewater too, or just water?
I would be more than willing to help John with any of the
Existing-
wastewater stuff. that he
Existing
needs.
wastewater infrastructure? Okay,
So then we
Some
do
of the asset management stuff and helping him put together the bid for the grinder pumps for the phase 2 people that need
Okay.
pumps. You know, some of that,
all right, perfect.
yeah,
Town meeting, when you come down for town meeting?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noreen,
So beyond you, just so we're clear, what is the way things would normally flow for like payroll, accounts payable, all those warrants to be signed? Staff will,
So Sandy, typically in my absence, does all of that.
okay,
Yeah, she preps everything. I usually review it. If I'm not able to,
Yeah.
she usually goes through it.
and if she's not here, Wellesley does it, right?
Payroll, yeah.
Yeah. It's a fine oil machine down here at 196 Chatham Road.
Yeah.
It is.
Anything else? Superintendent's report?
All right, 2 items. So I got a letter from the Harwich Fire Association, Norm,
Clark.
Norm Clark, the building that they're restoring over on Bank Street.
Fire
Yeah.
Fire Museum.
Fire Museum. Long story short, they had originally intended to put a 2-inch fire service line in there, and now they're being told that they need to do a 4-inch fire service. The 2-inch line is not sufficient.
Who's telling this?
The fire protection
Well, they have to put
engineer.
sprinklers in there?
So it's dated April 17th. I don't know what day it actually hit my inbox, but I figured, I read it for the first time yesterday, so I'm figuring this is within the 24-hour thing. So they had, trying to think of how it switched. A full sprinkler system is now required. Oh, okay, I think, they originally didn't think they were gonna have to sprinkle the whole building, and now they do, which increases the size, the diameter of the fire service. Long story short, they're reaching out asking if the department would be willing to donate the materials for the fire service. Robert Auer would be donating the labor to install the fire service. They only need a 4-inch service. We require them to bring 6-inch across the street because we don't stock 4-inch parts and pieces. The total material quote that Auer had given me for this project was about $7,300. With that would also be a second ask to waive the tapping fee for the fire sprinkler service, which for a 6-inch would be $3,000.
Gee, Cluckley's could have come down and asked him in person. Jeez.
The tapping service was what?
So when we recently did the rate amendments, we did a tapping fee. Tapping fee is $3,000 for a 6-inch.
And have they already installed the 2-inch?
Yes.
So that tapping fee can't carry over?
The Board of Water Wastewater Commissioners could take any liberties they.
So we already donated the 2 inches?
Yeah.
And what was the cost of that?
I wouldn't look into Jay, put you on the spot. I don't know.
It's like $1,500.
Yeah.
That's already in?
Yeah, but they can't use it because
And you said that you prefer a 6-inch, but yet they want a 4-inch.
so we don't stock 4-inch repair parts.
Right.
So for the part of the fire service that is in the roadway, we would require them to do 6-inch, and then they can reduce
I
it to
see.
4-inch when it's on their
I
property.
see. Okay.
We have 6-inch in stock.
Yeah.
And could they put in 6-inch, or does that
Well,
not
we don't-
make logical sense?
We don't have all the materials in stock here.
Oh,
You know, we have, and then you get into, you know, we have gate valves. Do we give them a gate? If the gate doesn't hold against the leak test, your fingers.
so what happened to their fundraising?
So this doesn't have to be decided today.
Right.
My recommendation, if you guys did want to donate something, would be to bring it back at our next meeting so that it can be properly posted and, you know.
We'll bring it back.
um,
So is this holding them up?
I
I've read what's out right now, so I have no idea.
I don't know that it's holding them up. I can reach out to Abby. I don't know when they were planning. This all just came in, and it was, hey, the 2-inch fire service is no good. They need a.
So we
bigger one."
donated a 2-inch service. It's in the ground. It's no good. Is that staying there? Is it coming
Yeah.
out? It's staying there.
And we donated the tapping fee.
Do they have to, but they don't have to open up the road again?
They do.
They do have to, oh,
Yeah.
because the road is also too small.
Well, they have to.
Whatever's
The
in
6-inch.
that.
I think it's on the opposite side of the road, the water main. So they have to trench a 6-inch across the road.
Why is Robert Hour donating their piece?
Somebody strong enough to, they're good guys.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I didn't ask. I don't know if it has to do with the
I have
town
to tell you,
and.
Robert Allen does a lot
Yeah.
in town.
He does.
Yeah.
They do.
And it comes.
Do they want to pay for a 4-inch water service?
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
that's
thing,
what
they're
I'm
eating the labor.
Huh?
They're donating the labor.
Which is,
So they want, oh, so wait, what's
Robert
this gonna
Hour,
cost us?
Robert Hour is gonna do the installation for free.
Okay,
They're asking if we would donate the materials,
and the material's gonna cost us $7,500.
$7,300.
And then we'd have to decide if we're waiving another
That's not
tapping
with the
fee for
tapping fee, right?
3,000.
Right, that's not with the
Yeah.
tapping fee.
So it's like 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the-
can
of the-
one of those apartments be for a water department employee?
Or a board member?
Dan's place on.
No, my daughter was like, is this gonna be a lottery? Because
Yeah.
that'd be a cool building to live in. Yeah.
So,
So they had to put in more sprinklers than they originally thought. So who's that person? Maybe they could pay for it.
Well, it's important to protect the.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree.
If it's important, why didn't they do it?
Alan, what's your take on this?
I just thought of something terrible, I
You know,
can't say it.
at this point, I have to be in. They
Yeah.
spent all our tax money on the building. I mean,
And the affordable housing
all of a
money.
sudden, it's, you can fix it up for an antique shop, but it wasn't good enough for.
So you're saying you're for it?
What are we gonna do, tear the building down?
Yeah, yeah, let's just do
Kind of-
Well,
it.
no, I mean, there's other things. You could fundraise for $10,000, you
We're
could,
talking about insurance on the property, fire service, you know, it's a shame.
we're talking about funding it.
Yeah, but Mike, you know, when he
Yeah.
came to our meeting, he said that they were gonna fund the apartments upstairs, and the way
Who said
they
this?
funded Michael when he came to our meeting,
Michael who?
Casco. 'Cause
Okay, go on.
yeah, and they funded it by going to the housing trust and getting their money as opposed to raising funds, so let's just do it,
But, I mean,
right?
help me out here, is it because the apartments, the 3 apartments on the second floor
so this,
are driving this?
do you want me to just read the letter?
Yeah.
I'll go as back quick as I can. Dear Commissioners, I'd like to bring you up to date on a great community project being done by the Harwich Fire Association in conjunction with the Harwich Conservation Trust. Both are nonprofit 501c3 organizations. First, I'd like to express our gratitude for your assistance in providing our domestic water service, as well as a 2-inch proposed fire protection system. This project at the old Bank Street Firehouse is located at 203 Bank Street in Harwichport. We had a vision of finding an appropriate home for the first motorized fire truck Harwich purchased in 1927. We were able to find and completely restore the 1927 Maxim Motors fire truck. The truck is presently stored behind the public safety complex on Sisson Road. From this vision, we expanded our idea after a meeting with Mike Lack and Tom Evans from the Conservation Trust. A joint venture evolved to purchase the old firehouse and restore the Bank Street bogs. Both are treasured pieces of Harwich history. The vision grew to offer much-needed workforce housing consisting of 3 single-bed apartments on the second floor of the building. The first floor will house the antique fire truck and provide an area for historic memorabilia about not only the Harwich Fire Department but also other Cape Fire Departments. There will be space for community events by both the Conservation Trust and the Harwich Fire Association. As the recently retired Harwich Fire Chief, as well as having memories beginning my career at the firehouse in '77, I've always enjoyed being the project manager. We have hundreds of hours of sweat equity into bringing the vision of restoring the firehouse to the finish line. We're grateful for the help of the town with housing trust funds, as well as CPC funds to reach our goal of raising $1.2 million. We had a revised decision from the building commissioner that the 2-inch fire sprinkler supply would not be acceptable. A full sprinkler system is now required. I respectfully ask for your consideration helping the Fire Association with providing the 4-inch supply main into the old firehouse to meet the requirements of the recently revised system. We believe that this is a one-of-a-kind joint venture with HCT and the Fire Association to create the historic firehouse and restore 66 acres of old cranberry bogs to their pre-bog condition, providing a wonderful experience for the people and visitors of Harwich. Respectfully, Norm Clark.
So it doesn't say that the apartments have added the extra cost, it's just saying that the building commissioner now says a 4-inch is needed for the building itself.
Maybe, yeah, Mr. Clark was thinking of 10 years ago.
So does somebody want to make a motion to approve the request or deny the request? to
It
supply.
wasn't on the agenda, I mean.
I'm sorry, you're right, you're right. We'll bring this back for our next meeting.
And can I just make one comment? I mean,
I mean, you can say whatever you want.
thank you, Gary, and I'm gonna miss you so much.
I don't know.
Listen,
She's not sitting next to me with that elbow.
He's not
You're
going
fine,
either?
you're fine over there, it's me. Go ahead,
Not
Lauren.
changing seats.
I mean, okay, so it says to provide a foreign service into it. That sounds like our labor, but you're saying it says isn't
Robert Auer is going to do the labor.
all the labor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Abby had reached out to me and
Right.
gave me a material list.
Right.
And then Norm had
Okay.
followed up with this.
So, I mean, the only way that I could even remotely stretch my brain around this is by thinking that, well, it's somehow connected to the bogs, which somehow eventually will cause us to have to build less sewers and save, that, I mean, that's, a very long stretch. But when it comes back on the agenda, I'd be inclined to discuss a partial gift. I have a problem with the ratepayers' money to benefit one organization twice,
Okay.
So-
You're yelling at me. I understand what you're saying,
Yeah,
I
so
get it.
that's just my views, we'll see
Mr.
what
Chairman,
happens.
My
with-
concern is holding the project up. And we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I can,
reach out to Chief Clark, ask if this is holding them up. If this is holding them up, let us know. We'll meet again as soon as possible to get, to take a vote on it. Mr. Thompson?
yeah, do we have 4-inch main in stock? We have to buy it.
No, they're gonna bring
It's on-
6-inch and let
Or-
them reduce it.
yeah.
Say again?
Gonna bring 6-inch onto the road
Yeah,
and then
okay.
reduce it from there.
Do we have that in stock?
I don't think so. It's gonna have to be an order, we're gonna have to order it from, our
So, the
supplier and
pipe's on
have it
us.
drop shipped, yeah.
Several thousand.
$7,300 in materials.
Can we use 4-inch? No?
We don't
Yeah,
allow
okay.
anyone to,
Okay.
just because then we have to stock,
Right.
repair couplings,
Okay.
the whole inventory.
Yeah.
So just find out if this
Yeah.
is holding us, we can get this back on our agenda and set up our next meeting. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No,
Did
I'm
you
all
have
set.
something you wanted to say?
Yeah, you're doing the right thing.
Dan?
Just one more note, at some point at an upcoming meeting, the board will need to consider adding some fees to our rate and fee structure for sewer items. Now that we're starting to get some of the commercial businesses in East Harwich, they're required to do grease trap inspections every month. Those generally have a fee associated with them. So I want to work with John to try and identify the various sewer department services that are generally charged fees for, that would then be brought back before you for a rate hearing. And
How many times a year, how many times? Was it twice a month they have to be checked?
I think it's monthly.
Monthly?
Yeah. And lastly, we did have an incident yesterday where we had a contractor who doesn't work in Harwich. I don't know if they ever worked in Harwich or not, but they did dig down and go to install a water service at a private property. They didn't tap the main. They were attempting to do work from the curb stop, the property line to the house, but that is in conflict with our rules and regs. We don't allow that to be done. It is like the first time they're doing it. To confuse things more, there's a general contractor working on the property, and then they subcontracted the excavation services. The company, I believe, is out of Yarmouth, Sandwich. And they had hired them to come down and do the service line. We do have in our regs that you guys can fine them for doing that. If you'd like to either fine them, issue a warning letter. If we do want to fine them, I would want to just reach out to Giorgio to just see what our abilities are. I know when we went through the water restriction bylaw change, he had said, I thought that the max fine was $300 unless you had special legislation. So I think the max fine might be $300 that you could impose, but if you want to go that route, I can set that in motion to try to get the right answers, or if we want to issue them a warning.
I'd like to know what the fine would be if we find them.
And I know it's late, but, so you said that they were working from the curb to the house. What is the violation?
They're not allowed to do that.
Right, what should they have done?
Called us, and we would have renewed the water service.
You would have,
Our crew would have went out and did the install. So we don't allow contractors, independent contractors, to do water service installations, with the
Okay.
exception being if they install a meter pit, they can have the private contractor run after the meter to wherever they want to go.
right,
But as a, department rule policy, we run
Okay.
the service from
I
the
see.
main to the
Right.
meter.
but yet, I mean, a sewer service, a new sewer service connection can be done by a contractor. Okay, but that's what I was following. But so this is a water violation?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So on that, just can I say real quick?
Absolutely.
They didn't hook up our side of the tracing wire when I got there. They were gonna reduce the service from 1.5 inches to 1 inch. With a union to go in the house, that's not allowed.
Okay,
So they were gonna do a few things that if I didn't show up, they were gonna do it.
right.
So do
thank
you,
goodness.
okay, so that's,
Just to let you know, that we wouldn't be able to mark out our line across the road anymore if they didn't hook up that tracing wire. And we wouldn't know that until you go try to do it next time, and you can't do it, and we don't know why.
Were they from Maine or something?
Sandwich, yeah.
Really?
Sandwich, interesting.
so just so everyone knows, this is Jay. Jay's on foreman.
Hi, Jay.
I'm a dig crew. And everybody knows Dana. Dana's
Yeah.
on the treatment side. Do you have anything else?
I think that's it. I'm looking, did I forget anything? Anybody? No.
Commissioner's report, Mr. Thompson.
Are we gonna levy a fine on that installation?
Dan's gonna reach out to Giorgio to find how much we can
Yeah.
find them
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, $500.
Noted. Second. Judith, you have anything?
Ta-ta.
Just excited for you, but very sad. But, yeah, happy for you.
Noreen.
Same thing, it's been quite an experience here for
Yeah.
3 years for me, and I shudder to think what the next 3 years will bring, so. But with the example you set and the staff that's here, I'm sure it'll be just fine. Sorry to
Thank
see
you for
go.
everything you've done.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, you basically said what I wanted to say. Dan, we had a great department before Dan got here.
That's right.
Really, Dan came in, raised the bar to the next level. Between the Lower County Road, things I've seen the guys do, the pipe over on Oak Street that, Russman GHD said no other water department on Cape Cod could have done what you guys did. The SCADA system, you guys wiring the pumps, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We are going to be fine. You are an asset that is going to be missed, so thanks. All right,
Thank you.
I'm good.
motion to adjourn? Oh, we need a,
Yeah, meeting.
May I suggest, if possible, if people are open Fridays, maybe entertain a Friday meeting in the event that I needed to attend?
Yeah.
Or
Right.
you wanted me to
Yes.
attend,
Oh,
Good idea.
so
Money already.
it seems
Bill, that
to,
comes Fridays are double.
go ahead.
Yeah, right.
so since we want to get a contract agreed fairly quickly, it seems to me that our next meeting should be fairly quick.
The third?
Where are we now? We are on,
That would be-
23rd.
yeah, I mean, because if Dan comes up with a contract that we're in agreement with, that's our next most important thing to sign.
Okay, is the third,
It's okay by me.
does the third work for everybody?
I'll have to call him, but that's fine. I'll be at my mom's.
Alan, can you do the third, May 3rd?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Want to,
because,
you want to do it at the same time, 3 o'clock?
yeah, yeah,
Sure.
because I don't know what.
Stay on the
I don't-
board if you can do it at 3?
I was just saying before you got here, our schedule literally has been changing on a week-to-week basis. And
Yeah.
right when I withdrew my papers, I was like, maybe I made a mistake. But after these last 3 weeks, the way my job hours, I've gone from 10:30 PM to 3 AM, 12:30 AM. It's probably gonna be changing again.
That's not fair.
I'm sleeping,
Yeah.
but I just don't know where I'll be working on a week to week. And out to May, I don't know at this point. So
Yeah.
I did make the right decision because I don't know my hours are gonna be, but
Yeah.
it's not.
God, I
Yeah.
hate to train somebody else.
Well, if we-
I know.
We could have the meetings at 12 AM.
Right?
12 AM I can make.
There we go.
Bonfires,
Uh,
some
We can do
beers.
That's
We
right.
can do a sleeper.
I'll phone it in.
All right, so,
What you said,
the 3rd at 3, we can do, you know what, we can actually do, let's say let's do 3 o'clock. Let's do
3 o'clock?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I, just, I'll be on call, but I'll have you guys muted, I'm sure, because I know my mother will be up at that hour.
All right.
all right, so,
So,
May the 3rd,
April 3rd. Wait a minute.
Yeah, May the third.
May the 3rd
Oh.
at 3
No one's gonna
o'clock.
be here April 3rd.
All right, thank you.
May the,
May the 3rd, at 3 o'clock.
we're good.
Motion to adjourn.
So,
Second,
Second.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.